Hello and welcome to this pit stop for 1066 Tears Too Many Mothers, a game from Tristan Hall, Hall or Nothing Games for 1 or 2 players, recreating the campaign of the Norman invasion of England in the 11th century, with one player taking hold of the Saxon deck and attempting to defend the Saxon England with Harold Godwinson as their leader, and the others leading the Norman forces with William Fitzrobert as their leader, looking to conquer. On the start of the turn, each player checks their hand of cards, make sure they don't have more than 6, discard down to it, and then they get to draw 2 more cards into their hand, and they can ready all of their tired characters in play. And you can be tiring them out by using their actions or using their resources. Then you get a chance as the start player to play 1 card and take 1 action, and play will alternate between the 2 players until both players have passed. When you wish to play a card, there are various types of cards you can play, but they all have a resource cost, and there are 2 ways you can generate resources. If you've got resource cards in play, you can tire them out, and you'll see down here on these green seals, that's how many resources they generate. That's 2 from there, but this one requires 5 to play. You can also discard cards from your hand, and no matter what the card is, every card that you discard generates 1 resource for you. And by doing that, we generate the 5 required for this magnet support. And from now on, this one will generate resources for me. It's a tactic, and tactics go over to the side. There are other types of cards that you can put into play. There are units and characters. And units and characters will come in, and you'll put them in one of these 3 wedges. Now, when you're choosing a wedge, eventually, when someone gets to the Battle of Hastings, you will start fighting over these wedges. And that's one of the ways in which you can win the game. But for now, you're going to look and see whether they are going to interact with the wedge that you're putting them into. So this Saxon Cure, tire 1 non-leader enemy in this card's wedge. So if I played it up here, it's no use. There's no one up there. But down here, as long as it's not a leader like William, I could tire one of these cards out, meaning that the Norman player doesn't have access to these resources or to any action that would be on there. You also get things that matter where they are in terms of, like, for example, the housecarls. They are stronger in might whilst they're in row 1. And all these units have got a strength in might and in zeal that's going to get you through your objective deck to get you to the battle, and then they're going to help you win the battle with those strengths. You also get things that activate when played. For example, the spearmen deal 1 damage to an enemy cavalry in this card's wedge. And all the cards have got different types. For example, this is a Saxon infantry. We've got a Breton cavalry here we can damage with this, or a Norman noble. And the cards interact with those keywords as you play them. Now, some of them are even more specific like that. For example, here's Harkon, the nephew of Harold. And he was Harold's bodyguard, and he can take damage instead of Harold. And why are we worried about that? Because your leader has got 9 health. And whenever your leader gets completely damaged, their 9 damage on them, that is one of the ways in which you're going to lose the game. So William here is obviously in a bit more trouble than Harold is. Second way you're going to lose the game is, I said, you have to draw 2 cards at the beginning of the game. If your deck is ever empty when you have to draw those 2 cards, that's another way you can lose the game. And the third way is to actually lose the battle when we get to the end. Now, I've been looking at characters and units that come into play in these wedges. There are other types of cards in the game. There are attachments, for example, for the crowning at Westminster, that will make Harold more powerful in zeal when he requires it. You also have events like a shield wall that will cancel damage getting done to you, or maybe these English spies will let me look at the Norman player's hand and steal some of their cards. Now, whichever type of card that you choose to play, you then get to take 1 action on your turn if you have cards in play that can do it. For example, these feared archers, I could tire them out, and they get to do damage to a unit in this row, and that's how William is piling up with that damage. And the normal player is going to have to respond to what you've done. And they have things that they can do. They've got a completely separate deck like this Lone Axeman. Now, this is a very specific timing of card. You have an objective deck, which ranges from, both players start with Halley's Comet and they end with the Battle of Hastings. Once everyone's finished playing their cards, they're going to add up whether it's might or zeal, depending upon what objective they're on. So in this case, the Battle of Stamford Bridge has got 1 might and it takes 6 damage. You add up the might of your standing ready characters after both players have passed. In this case, there's 5. So the Saxon player will be doing 4 more damage on here, and it only takes 6 damage to move on. When you move on, you go through here and the historical events that happen on the Battle of Stamford Bridge, and then a march down Ermine Street. And then you have to start adding up your zeal for the prayer at Waltham Abbey, and then gathering forces in London before you actually get to the Battle of Hastings. That all happens automatically at the end of the round that you check these. But you'll get cards like this Lone Axeman, remove all damage from the Battle at Stamford Bridge, knocking the Saxon players' plans back a bit and hoping to get the Normans to there quicker. There's also specific cards like this event, Arrow in the Eye, where you can directly damage Harold Godwin's son. Or we're having problems with this archer, we could put this Norman crossbow man into play, and he can then shoot across and try and take this archer out so that William's not getting peppered. Also, I talked about geographically where you put your cards is important, but you also what cards you're putting down. If the Norman play had a lot of cavalry, and they can use a cavalry trample, which does a whole load of damage in one go, all through one wedge. Or they can play this lunatic minstrel who'll go on a suicide mission, or the fearsome Robert de Beaumont, who will kill someone as soon as he comes into play because he's that scary. Whatever cards you're playing, you're going to check your objectives. Once you get through your objectives, you'll get to the Battle of Hastings. Now, once one player has triggered the Battle of Hastings, then we're going to check the wedges on each turn. For each wedge, we're going to add up all the might on one side and then all the zeal on one side. Now, down here in wedge 3, the Norman player has got 3 might and the Saxon player has got none. So the Norman player will put 3 damage in there, as long as they have also made it to the Battle of Hastings. If they haven't got through their objective deck, all they're doing here is preventing the Saxon player putting damage on there. With the zeal, it's 1 to 0, so that's 1 more damage on there. If either player gets 10 or more damage on a wedge, they will claim it. And if either player claims 2 of the wedges, that is the last way in which they can win the game of 1066 Tears to Many Mothers. This has been a Game Pit Pit Stop. For more videos like this, check out our YouTube channel. For more in-depth coverage of gaming, please check out the Game Pit podcast. Thank you.